Do you find yourself not moving along in your progress, in your spiritual journey as you wish and hope? Do you find that you're feeling more and more alone as you move along this journey, and you're kind of wondering if you really should do it? Well, listen in on today's episode where I talk about the importance of having support in your life. Welcome, ladies, to the Life Mastery for Women podcast. I'm Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind, your host. This is where we go to learn to master our life one nugget at a time. Ladies, it's Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind. Welcome to today's episode where I hope I am finding you with all of the support that you need on this journey. So to find that expansion and to really deepen your spiritual connection. And if you don't have that support, then it is my intention that in today's episode, I give you just one nugget of inspiration towards your transformation. So I want to talk about the importance of support. And I find that I've had a lot of clients and friends who were on a spiritual journey, and they're like really getting excited about things, and they're really moving along. They're reading new stuff. They're really deepening their awareness. Their spiritual journey is really like moving forward. And then all of a sudden they feel this massive disruption in their life. Their relationships become disrupted, their house, the things that they're trying to manifest, things like start turning upside down. And then what typically happens is they quit. You know, they stop moving along in their spiritual journey. So what I want to do is talk about why that happens and what you can do about it, and what support might be available, or how to create the ideal support for yourself on this journey. But first, let's get present. So no matter where you are, you could even do this when you're driving. Just really pay attention. I'm not going to encourage you to close your eyes, of course, but just feel your body. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Let that air filter into your lungs. Hold it right at the top and breathe out, and just become present with me. Become present with my voice, and just hear. Just let my words just wash over you in this time of learning. Just feel your body on the seat. Feel your feet on the floor. Breathe in. Just become present. Hold it right at the top just for a couple of seconds, and breathe out. And then as soon as you are present, then let's get going. Let's talk about support. When I first started my spiritual journey, as you know, if you've listened to several of my other podcasts, I was in a relationship. We were about 9, almost 10 years. And every time I tried to grow, every time I would read something and deepen my connection, and deepen my spiritual knowledge, I noticed that my relationship would start to be shaky and flip and flop around. And I'm like, what the heck? Like almost every time it would do that. And we didn't believe the same things. And so the conversation was not there. And when I would have the conversation, it just didn't go very well. And that's okay. There's beliefs that are different, right? And we're going to talk about that. Like sometimes it might not be your person. It might not be your spouse or your partner that is going to be the person you have communication with, because they may not be on the same journey as you. But what ended up happening is I ended that relationship because I really felt this gap growing in my relationship with this person, and it just didn't go. It just, it's like as I was growing, the person I was with wasn't growing with me, and it just really developed this space between us. And so when I let that relationship go, my spiritual journey really accelerated. And because now I really could deepen that connection. But what I did find that there was kind of a hole in myself, in my heart, where now I didn't have that person I didn't have any person at this point. I didn't have anybody to really have these deep conversations with. So let's talk about how this can affect like the importance of it. If you're like me, I'm just going to do the spiritual journey by myself. It's not a big deal. I'm just going to go ahead and go for it. And you're going to notice some disruption. But I wanted to first talk about the importance of having somebody with you on the journey. Like I said, it doesn't have to be your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, your brother, your cousin. It literally can be a friend. It could be a community, an online community, a somebody. But I do recommend that it's a somebody, not meaning that, oh, I'm a part of this community and I'm just, but someone who really you can have one-on-one conversations with. And I think it's important because I think there's this validation of what we're doing as we're moving along in our journey. There's a little bit of the significance of what it is that you're doing and how great it is and how big it is. And I think it's really, really important to be grounded in that, knowing that you're not crazy, because you're going to experience things that seem really out of this world. And when you try to tell somebody who isn't necessarily on an awakening journey, they're going to think you're crazy. They're going to talk about it in a way that is going to make you doubt the experience that you're having. And that was some of the experience that I was having. And it was very frustrating to me to not have that person to talk to. And I don't want that to happen to you. But if it is happening to you, it's finding that person that is on a journey where you guys can maybe you share the same lingo. Maybe you're reading the same books from the same authors. You're experiencing the same kind of awakening experience. Then there's a solid understanding of what am I going through? Because as you start to become awake, your life starts to become magical. And when you talk to the skeptics, they're going to put it off as coincidence, and they're going to announce their disbelief in their conversation with you. And sometimes that can stifle your growth. I like to experience all of what the spiritual realm has to offer me through meditation, through synchronicities, opportunities that show up. I like to believe in the something bigger and better, something more powerful out there. And it excites me to think there's something more than just these four walls and just this physical experience. And so when I start to really deepen my knowledge and my transformation and really start taking charge of my change, I really start to see that. And that's when life really gets exciting for me. And if I were to then go to somebody, a family member, and start to explain that to them, and they go, oh yeah, well, you can't prove it or disprove it, or I don't believe in that, or there isn't anything outside of the physical body, then I start to question, or even worse, I start to become defensive, and then it changes that relationship. But I think when you have somebody who is there for you, who is accepting, who is maybe on the same journey, who is listening to you, that is huge. And we're going to create that avatar today. Like, I want you to have a thought of what is it that you need in your spiritual journey. But when you're out there exploring, it's this place of confidence that as you begin to deepen your awareness and your spiritual journey, that things start really showing up for you and you want to share it. The first is to go inward and deepen the relationship with yourself. And then after that, once you build that confidence and that knowing, the next step is to share it with others. And it can be a little bit rattling. And so you do want to have a support group, but at the same time, you want to have a place to be able to talk, right? You want to be able to have that sense of confidence and that foundation to stand on that says, hey, this is the experience I've had ever since I started my journey, and I want to share it with others. So maybe you will encourage them to start their journey. The other is some guidance and wisdom, is surrounding yourself with like-minded people who have been on the journey for a while, who may be a little bit ahead of you, that can offer some wisdom when things do get rocky. And notice I said when. It happens. I've not seen it yet with any clients or anybody that I've worked with or any people, friends that I know on a spiritual journey where their life doesn't get rocked. When you are on a spiritual journey, let's start at the beginning. When you're not on a spiritual journey, here's your life. Here's this house, these relationships, these people, this environment, this job, this money, this everything, okay? And it's all here in this circle, let's say. When you begin your spiritual journey, you begin to elevate your awareness and your perspective on life and your understanding about how the world works. And it's magical and it's lovely and it's amazing. But what happens is you start to elevate out of parts of your current reality. So if you remember, I've talked about the vertical scale. So if I'm a 2, I'm attracting 2 type relationships. That's a frequency that I'm putting out on a consistent basis. And so I'm attracting 2 type relationships. I just mean the level 2. So when I try to solve a problem at a 2, I'm going to bring in other people that are at a 2 to help me solve the problem. And I just can't. You can't solve the problem from there. And I have people in my life that are at the same frequency. Well, when you're on a spiritual journey, you begin to elevate. So now you're level 4. Consistently, you're meditating, you're feeling some synchronicities, you're really starting to build this confidence and this understanding of how the world works, how the universe works, how energy works, and you start to elevate, sometimes leaving the level 2 stuff behind. Sometimes that's relationships, and it can be really painful, and there is a choice to be made, sometimes consciously, sometimes not, to stay in those relationships that are a level 2, or to continue on your spiritual journey and move up. I had to make that painful decision. And it was painful to end a 9, almost 10-year relationship because of my elevation. And it has been a wild ride. It was painful to let that go. It really had a ripple effect on my other friendships outside of that relationship that I was completely unaware of. And it had, which I think all relationships do, if they go through a breakup, there's like this divide that happens. That was very painful for me. But it was necessary because deep down, I feel like I'm meant for something great. And I wonder about that with you. Do you feel in your body, in your bones, that you're meant for something great? Whether that is to change the world, elevate humanity, or if it's just meant for a great life. That you get to sit in the driver's seat of your life and you get to create the life that you want. And you decide, feel into that. Does that resonate with you? And as you elevate your life and things become disruptive, understand that that is the shedding process. Is it hard? Yes. But is it worth it? Yes. It's totally worth it. It's totally, totally worth it. Think of the butterfly that goes through that transformational process from the caterpillar to the butterfly. I mean, they tuck into this chrysalis and they stay in that chrysalis, right? That becomes like the winter season. That becomes the internal state. And we go inward. We start to meditate. We start to understand ourselves and our energy and start to really tap into our intuition and connect with our spirit. Then there's this emergence that happens. During that emergence, if you've ever seen a caterpillar now start to break free from that chrysalis, it is a struggle. They look like they are just not going to make it. They are turning and twisting and pushing and pumping blood to their wings and their body and really trying to shed that part of them. And that's what we all have to go through. We have to go through this emergence as we leave the physical world. Even as we're still present in the physical world, we leave the physical world as we already think it. We're in this physical world and we think this is all there is, just this physical stuff. And I have to try to control all these people to make myself happy as they're all trying to control me to make themselves happy. And it just becomes this exhausting life. As you get older, you get more tired. You feel weaker. You feel like you want to take naps all the time. Well, it is your constant engagement with the world around you in this way to control and manipulate. So what we do instead is you continue to go inward. You continue to push through. And on the other side is an understanding. On the other side is wisdom. And that wisdom allows you to start creating the world that you want to live in. Now, does that mean that everybody who goes on a spiritual journey should get divorced? No, absolutely not. Some do, but some don't. Does it mean that your partner has to be also on a spiritual journey in order for you guys to stay together? Absolutely not. That doesn't have to be the case. There's lots of ways to work with the energy, but it is during the process that things kind of get rattled. Before the emergence, before the I want to say like sort of like the process is over. Like I went through this massive struggle in between there, and I chose to end my relationship. And it freed me to deepen my spiritual understanding and knowledge. And it sped it up because I was being, it wasn't the choice of her on this end, but I was being stifled because I was thinking she didn't want to be a part of it. And so I'm going to stop doing it. And I just couldn't. That butterfly was just really trying to emerge out. And I just had to keep going with it. And I did. And I chose to end the relationship. And it sped up my journey. But that's my story. That's my opinion. Okay. And it doesn't have to be yours, because now on the other side, I can see how I can work with energy to understand the relationships of the people around me. And I may influence them or I may not. I may have an influence. I may be an inspiration or I might not. And I have to be okay with that. But on the other side, on the emergence, as a butterfly and you're hanging around the trees and you see your fellow caterpillars and you're like, it's okay, you're going to be a butterfly soon. Or maybe not. Maybe you're going to get picked off by a bird here in a few minutes and you're not going to make it to the butterfly in this world, in this lifetime. And I'm okay with that. Okay. I want you to understand that just because my relationship went that way doesn't mean yours is going to. So I don't want you to stop on your journey, but I do want you to find the support because it is definitely going to help. Another thing is that the support around you can encourage and inspire you to keep going. Because I have worked with clients who are just like, they get in, they see the world becomes disruptive around them, and they're like, forget it, I quit. This is not worth it. I want to go back to my comfort zone. I want to close my eyes. I want to put my head in the sand. And I sit there and I go, you can do that. You can put your head in the sand and you can go back to your comfort zone. But I will tell you this, you will never be the same. Once a caterpillar sees a butterfly and says, hey, that could be me one day. And the butterfly says, yes, this could be you one day. And the caterpillar starts to kind of think and go in that direction and can really start to visualize their life in a different way with a lot more freedom and a lot more happiness and a lot more health and peace. That caterpillar is never going to be the same. A butterfly never goes back to being a caterpillar. Never. Is there a tough transition in between? You bet your ass there is. And it is tough, and it's not for the faint of heart, but it is 1,000% worth it. The inspiration that you get from others who are on the other side, who have their wings, can help you and help support you and encourage you and uplift your spirits and boost your confidence of what it is that you're doing and where you're going. And that positive reinforcement from that outside, that group, your support group, can really help you to maintain your enthusiasm and your dedication to continue on your spiritual journey. Now, I didn't have that. Once I started dating Amy, I had to start teaching her, and she had to, she was like, wow, this is really over my head. Like I was really far advanced, but she was open to it. And now she understands it so much. We've had 1,000 hours of conversation about it. But she's been such a great support and a great listener. And she's like, I don't always understand what you're saying, but sometimes her just listening while I'm reiterating things I'm learning helps me to integrate it at a deeper level. And then she starts to implement with me. We start to do things together. So that's what really has changed. So I want to talk about when things start getting disruptive. Like I talked about what that means. Like as you're leveling up in your life, you're leaving your current level of your life behind. You're starting to shed that. I want you to understand fully that doesn't have to be shed and get rid of, right? It could be shed and change, transform that a little bit. So what we do is keep going. As my coach friend says, when you're going through hell, keep going. Like don't stop in hell, and don't turn around and go back the other way, because you're going to just have to come through this all the way. It's like when you're going through hell, keep going. There's light and peace and healing and everything that you want on the other side. Just keep going, right? But how do you create that support? Let's talk about that. I want you to think about this, put this down in your journal. If you had the ideal friend, whoever that is, this avatar I want you to create, what do they do? How do they respond? How do they talk to you? I needed somebody who would not only listen, accept what I was saying, but they don't have to accept it in a way that's like just listening ears and never give any feedback or never discredit or disbelieve it. Because that creates some confidence on my end when we're having those kind of conversations. But I do feel like they need to have maybe some questions. Maybe they want some clarification. Maybe they're on a journey as well, and they can share and discuss their journey, and maybe I could help them, right? So it's kind of this give and take relationship. I want you to think about what you need in a support system. Do you need somebody who's more of a mentor type that is on the journey ahead of you and can offer some support in a coach fashion or a mentor fashion that can guide you? Like when I say, oh my gosh, my life is completely disrupted, and they go, listen, I did that, keep going, because on the other side of it, it's going to clear up. Like, do you need that, or do you need somebody who is asking about, like, why is it disrupted, and what makes it disrupted, and what can you do about it? Like, ask some of those clarifying questions. Who do you need? describe your avatar. Like, I would be curious for you. I don't know if you're a part of my Lady Rising group or not, is to post in there. That's kind of where we're putting our podcast group in. If you're a podcast, if you're a listener, even if you're a guy, you can come in that group. I mean, my information is geared towards women. That's who I coach. That's in my coaching program. It's pretty much always who I've worked with. But if you're a guy and you listen to my podcast, you're like, well, I want a community. It's okay. You can come in there. I think there's a couple of guys in there already. But I think it's important for all of us to have that like-minded community to be a part of. So Lady Rising is a group on Facebook, and it's a community, and we're trying to build this. There's some people in there, and we're trying to build this through the podcast that encourages us as listeners to share. And I want you to, like, okay, here's my experience and here's what I'm going through, and allow us to support one another. I don't feel like we see that enough. There's online communities. Churches are kind of fading, I think, a little bit. A lot of people I know are like leaving the church, but they want that thing to believe in. They want that community, but I don't know that they're out there yet. I think there's some spiritual classes that are being developed. I have some coach friends who lead, weekly classes locally, where you can meet locally. But I think an online community can really be supportive, and it can be a really supportive place. And then from there, we could build where we have online phone calls, where we have online Zooms, where you can meet in person, no matter where you are in the world, that we could meet in person and create this community that encourages and inspires and helps you to cope with your challenges that come along with an awakening journey or a spiritual journey. Because you're just going to encounter various challenges. It's just going to be a matter of time. And having that support is really going to help support you in continuing to keep going and to encourage you to keep going. And even me, it's like I'm a part of a community of coaches, and I need that sometimes. I need that encouragement sometimes, and that wisdom from coaches who are farther advanced than me. So don't think I'm all the way at the end of my spiritual journey. I'm constantly reading and learning and journaling and meditating and getting new downloads and new information, and you're going to be too. I just want this community on Lady Rising on Facebook. Check it out. You have to come in through there's some membership questions, and then just say I'm coming in through the podcast. And, I have some, like little challenges for you, to challenge you in your spiritual growth in the podcast. Be like, hey, you know what? Post your experience or share a picture of your meditation station. Help encourage each other. And I would love to see this space grow. I would love to see this community grow, because this is where we're really going to start helping each other to level up. Sometimes just being a part of, one or two people getting together to do something just lightens the load, doesn't it? It just makes it so much more enjoyable to do this together. So I hope this finds you well. And if you would just take a moment to just like and subscribe to my channel, to check out wherever you're at, is to subscribe, so when new downloads, new episodes come about, you get notifications. Write a review, or better yet, share this episode with people on your channels, people on your Facebook groups or your other social media. I would love to continue to grow this community and to really help each other grow in their spiritual journey. Hey, thanks for listening. Your support means the world to me, and I'm truly grateful to have you on this journey of personal growth and exploration. If you've ever felt motivated or uplifted or gained valuable insight from my podcast, you now have an opportunity to show your appreciation. If you'd like to buy me a coffee or a chai tea as a token of support, you can do so through the link in the podcast show notes. Remember, your support goes beyond just a chai tea. It fuels my passion and drive to continue growing with you, making the world a better place and elevating all of humanity one episode at a time. Thank you again for being a valued listener.